Now go to your right just a little bit. Over exaggerate it.
My body.
Like over exaggerate it, like nasty.
Yeah. Did you get that?
I think that's gonna work, man. It's a show that I think you want to revisit and you want to hear about it. Hey, we're not talking about one episode. We're talking about 7 hours worth of content.
Yeah. Oh, she's a girl from Split and Glass. Okay. And they're gonna make a Mad Max prequel. So she's playing Charlize Theron's Furiosa.
Trey audio test.
Tony audio test. Clickbait.
Click this if you want to be rich. Make $1 million in 5 minutes.
Predictions for the season finale of The Mandalorian. I saw a few that had some of them had Mace Windu, and it was spoiler alert. Or, what do they call it? The cutting room floor or something like that.
You ruined it. Hey guys, welcome back to the Trey Show. Today we're going to be reviewing the Queen's Gambit. We recently watched it, and I think the first most interesting thing to me is there's no queens in the movie. It's not about the Queen of England or any other queen, and Gambit's not in the movie, so there's not an X-Men that lights cards on fire and throws them at people. So just beware. If you thought that that's what this show was about, it's not. So I'll kick it over to Tony to kind of let us know, Tony, what did you think about the show? What's your rating on it? And then I'll give my rating and give you my high level thoughts. And then we can just kind of talk about the highlights and what we enjoyed about it and what we didn't enjoy about it, if there was anything.
Okay. So I too was confused. Was waiting for the Queen of England to show up or be some kind of presence in this movie. I had no clue. So I was confused. I didn't know anything about it except for the hype. I had heard a lot of people like, oh, you got to watch it. You got to watch it. So like most things that you have to watch in the beginning, I was kind of like, okay, this is not what I expected. This is boring. I'm not a big fan of chess. I've never played chess. I don't know how to play chess. Nor do I feel like picking it up after watching this show. But I would say by episode 4, I started putting a little bit more interest in the show. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty solid. It started out slow, but kind of picked up. Started getting a little emotionally invested into the character. I mean, could say characters, but I mean, she was the main one in the whole thing. Few side characters, but no one really that important. If I had to give it a rating, I'd probably rate it a solid 7. 7 being I would watch it again and thought it was pretty good.
Gotcha.
What
So,
about you?
out of curiosity, what made you watch the movie or the series?
Tish and Nevaeh. It's the only reason.
Oh, okay.
They had said that they had heard about it, and we always like to watch something when we have dinner now together. We'll start watching a series and just kind of see if it's something we all want to stick with. If it's not, whoever likes it can watch it on their own time. But this is one that we kind of stuck with and watched it together. And like I said, the first couple episodes, I paid attention, but I also still felt like I had no idea what was going on. Again, I was waiting for it to relate somehow to the Queen of England because I didn't know that was a move, the Queen's Gambit. No idea that was a chess move. Yeah, so I was like, okay, so she's American. Why is this called the Queen's Gambit? Because for some reason I thought it was going to take place in England because, of course, we don't have any royal queens here, at least. So yeah, that was the main reason we started watching it.
Okay. That makes sense. So I really enjoyed this. I thought it was really good. I'm going to rate it a 9. I thought it was almost perfect. With it being a limited series, that was actually a little bit different too. We've gone through and watched a lot, Breaking Bad and some of the other series that you have to invest a lot of time in to get through all of it. Schitt's Creek was one that we recently watched as well. So I actually kind of liked the fact that I knew it was going to be 7 hours and, there was going to be a beginning, a story arc, and an end. So that played into my mindset. So I actually played chess a little bit growing up. I don't know if you remember, my dad played chess.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Okay. My dad played chess. He taught me how to play. And then a lot of our friends that would come over, which, Enoch played chess, Luke played chess, my cousin Anthony played chess. So it was actually really interesting where I don't know that our group, that we would have thought that there was chess players among us when we were younger. So it was interesting that we just had a chessboard set up in the living room right when you would walk in, that marble chessboard to the right. And people would just kind of mess with it. And you would, okay. And then my dad would be like, "You want to play?" Knowing that he could beat most people.
Yeah.
And what I really like about it, and you see this throughout the movie, and I was talking to Vanessa about this, or throughout the show, excuse me, is that it's a 100% a mental game, right? If you lose, it's even more frustrating because you lost mentally. It's not like basketball or football where maybe you made the right decision, but you just didn't execute it, right? So you could say, well, I just got beat on that day, or, I didn't turn the corner fast enough, or I hesitated. And certainly some of those things could happen in chess as well. But I think that's where you see people just get that frustration, and you see a lot of that within the series. Whenever people lose, they get so frustrated, but then you see them go back and they train, and we can talk about what some of that looked like in the show as well. I was reading a little bit about this, about just some other thoughts online, and it was interesting because I think it was Ebert. He's still around, right? Ebert. He was
Siskel and Ebert.
Ebert of Siskel and Ebert fame. And he was saying this is a sports movie. And I think some people would argue that, but it actually is, because it's the sport of chess, and it's wrapped in the characters and the emotions and everything that comes along with Beth's story, and where she starts and where you kind of see the rise to fame, and then you see her struggles, and then ultimately, spoiler alert, you see her conquer and win. So So I'll kind of start. Do you have any other opening thoughts on it?
No. I mean, yeah, I never really looked at it that way either. I don't know if I guess if someone were to ask me, I'd classify it as a drama off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, you see her kind of like like most sports figures, you see her start out young, and then you see her hone her craft and become, this amazing player. And she was in her 20s the most of the movie, I think. Wasn't she supposed to be like
I think
early
so.
20s, late 20s, something like that. Anyways, so yeah, I mean, yeah, it definitely it can be labeled a sports movie, like Die Hard can be labeled a Christmas movie. I feel like that's a solid plus for me. I didn't even really think about that, but yeah, definitely a sports movie.
It's an interesting take on it for sure. So let's start. So it opens up with the car crash that we just see a little bit of it. We learn later on that her mother intentionally did that. So it just kind of starts to frame the trauma that she's already experienced. And it gives you a little bit of background on her mom and her dad's relationship, not at the very beginning, throughout the first couple episodes. What I thought was interesting about the beginning, and I think they did a really good job of the details and just kind of building out the orphanage, what it looked like, what it was like. My takeaway was, and this is an obvious point, but I never thought about that. I thought about this. You're in the orphanage 24/7, right? So for kids that are not in an orphanage, they go to school, but then you get to go home at the end of the day. Yay, school's out. You get to see your family. You get to watch TV, do your homework, play video games, whatever it is. When they show her in the orphanage, it's like you're in school 24/7. And I think they did a really good job of, obviously I don't know the how accurate it is, but just portraying, okay, what this kid's life is like between school and then with it being a fairly religious orphanage. What that was like for her, but obviously at her age, obviously she had known living with her mom before, but I don't know, it just kind of, I saw that and I'm like, wow, they did a good job, I feel like, of kind of showing that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, me and you both went to Catholic school. We grew up, in together. We grew up in the same Catholic school, so we got to go home. I could not imagine suffering there every single day, and just the little bits
Yep.
the always going to mass and all, having the religious classes and being kind of honed to believe one way as opposed to kids that just go to public school and they get to go home and get to go
Yep.
play with their friends after school or walk with their friends to school. Whereas when you live there and you're immersed in it, I mean, yeah, it's like a convent or something like that almost.
Yep.
I mean,
agree.
you're just surrounded by it, and that's what's expected of you. That part was I kind of zoned out in a lot of that. That might have been why, like post traumatic stress disorder from all those years of Catholic school.
Right.
I was just
Right.
kind of watching it like, ugh,
Right.
because I
Brought
could
back a lot of
kind
memories.
of relate. Yeah, kind of relate, but in a very small area of that. But yeah,
For sure.
I thought they did a good job.
So one of the main plot points that they establish here is she meets the custodian, Mr. Scheibel, I believe his name is, and she's bugging him to let her play chess. She doesn't even know what it is. So he eventually lets her play. You can tell he just wants to be left alone. He lets her play. She learns very quick. Yeah, you quickly see her addiction to the tranquilizer drugs and where those actually allow her to focus at night and go through the moves at night. And I thought that was interesting where she's laying there at night. She starts stacking the tranquilizer pills and then she takes them and then she can just sit there and learn. So I took that as every night when she lays down, she's able to learn and go through the moves in her mind. So it accelerates how quickly she can learn the game. And then obviously, and you kind of like, wow, this is a kid that's already addicted to these tranquilizer drugs. And that's a very tough thing. But I thought that was really cool. And kind of going back to the different draws of the show, Vanessa loves the characters and the relationships. The movie or show could be terrible. If there's good characters and they have good relationships, she loved those. And I obviously liked the relationship too, but I thought that was really cool how it was an unlikely relationship and he was very reluctant. He just wanted to be left alone, but he ended up teaching her. And also, and we see throughout the show, giving her money for the tournament that she wants to enter. So even though he never says anything to her, and I think that was what's interesting about his character, he never shows emotion. He never says, "Hey, I think you're fantastic," but he does all the things, right? He introduces her to the high school chess teacher, and he gives her the money for the tournament, and he saves the newspaper clippings, which is what we see later. So I thought that actually added some complexity to that character and those scenes, because when you watch those scenes, you wouldn't think that he could care less, but he actually does.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, if you think about it, from some of the relationships that she had in the series, people wanted things from her of some sort, and he's the one character that never wanted anything. Even her adopted mother, in a way, she wanted that money. She wanted to be able to sit in those hotel rooms and drink and just chill and watch TV, which who doesn't? But he never, like she said, what she owed him $20 or $30 or whatever. That he died knowing that she owed him something, but he never once reached out to her and asked for anything, wanted to be recognized for anything, any of her accolades or anything like that. So, I mean, I think that's part of her little breakdown when she saw that he collected all of her newspaper clippings and things like that, was that he did all this in his own way. I guess he loved her, He was just a little kid, but still he was proud of what she had done and never once expected anything in return.
I agree. I thought that was really cool. So we see her get adopted. She goes to a family that on the surface seems very normal, and then she quickly sees that the dad is going away to business trips. The mom, and it happens so quick. Then you start to see the mom being lonely, and I think, in just one other note, they did such a good job of building out the different time periods, right? So they're in 1965 and the 1970s. So there's a different culture for a family. There's different culture, and they don't really show anything from a race standpoint, but definitely from a female to males and what's acceptable and things like that. So I thought it was interesting to see her get adopted by a family. And you go back to those times and what the mom is responsible for doing, what the dad is responsible for doing. And she quickly sees how dysfunctional it is. And then she's just trying to make money. So, she goes to play chess, or I take that back. She goes to enter in the high school tournament. And I thought this was actually the scene that drew me into it, because it's on the Netflix like the automatic trailer that plays.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Where those two guys who are recurring characters throughout the series,
the twins or whatever.
The twins, yes, and they're just like, there's no girls division, and she's like, well, I'll play in this one. Well, you don't have a rating. There's two guys with a rating over 1900 or whatever, and they're like, are you sure you want to do this? And she's like, yes. And I remember seeing the preview and just her non-emotion, and she's so confident, and it just made me go, man, I have to see this movie and what it's all about, and obviously with it being about chess and whatnot. And
Right.
And going back to the cast, Anna, I hope I'm saying that right, Anya Taylor-Joy is Beth Harmon, and I just thought she was fantastic, and they do a good job of making her look so nerdy and so out of touch when she first gets adopted and she's first going to school, and then you see her progress throughout the movie where she starts making money. She dresses really nice.
Right.
She she gets the bangs, and I don't have an issue with bangs, but the way she had it and the short cut, you see her kind of towards the beginning, and it's like, oh my God. But we got to see that where as a very highly skilled player, she had additional obstacles to go through. And I thought it was really cool to see her go through that kind of first chess tournament and end up winning in the high school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I love the arc of her character. I think, honestly, like seeing her, I think that's what kind of drew me into the series, was actually watching her kind of come out of, I think it was the episode when she met that guy, she stayed at that house. It was like a house full of hippies or whatever, right?
Yes.
They were all going to like
Yep.
Cincinnati or something like that. I don't know, for the weekend to watch a movie or something like that.
That's right.
And
Yep.
She stayed there for all these days and like cleaned and drank and, smoked and just chilled. And then, she called her mom and was like, hey, I met a boy, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That was,
and her mom kind of knew,
like,
right?
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
She could relate, like when she said, I'm not going to get pregnant or whatever, and her mom says famous last words or something like that, or something along those lines.
That's right.
But, she just kind of chilled at the house, and it was, to me, that was her coming into her own kind of as an adult. And then, like you said, the dress, the dude, like that last episode, her outfit and just the way she kind of carried herself, I was like, all right, that's cool.
Yes. So going back, and we were talking about that scene a little bit, the first time that she kind of has a little bit of freedom. So you think about, she went from the orphanage to the house that she got adopted into, and now all of a sudden, she's smoking weed, she's drinking, she's listening to music, she's cleaning, and you can tell that she could care. She's happy cleaning. She doesn't care.
Yeah.
She's just hanging out. She's getting to maybe know herself a little bit better, and I thought that was cool. And I want to just call out one thing. At that first tournament, she plays Harry Beltic in the finals, and he comes in and before that, he's playing in a match, and she's there and she's asking questions, and he kind of shushes her, right? Mm-hmm. So then she ends up playing him in the finals, and he shows up late. He's not really interested, and I thought it was really cool and interesting where she's kind of talking smack to him a little bit throughout, because he's clearly being disrespectful to her, and she recognizes that. So you almost see that as the first time where she gets some confidence, and she's talking, smack to this guy who's one of the best players around. So I thought that was really cool. And what we'll see as a recurring theme is Beltic comes back into her life. And as they're establishing these characters early on, you see them, almost all of them come back. Even the girl who she beat on her first, the first match, right? They show her in episode 6 or 7 later on in the series. So I want to jump to her relationship with her adopted mother, whose name in the series is Alma Wheatley, and it's played by, again, I hope I don't butcher this, Marielle Heller. And I thought it was really interesting, not only the character, but the dynamic between the two. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, it was almost, I'm trying to think timeline wise. It felt more to me, and maybe this is just because about the time that I started really getting into the series, that it was more like a kind of a big sister, little sister relationship than it was a mother daughter. Kind of, she knew what it took for her. What they call her, Alma. So she knew what it took for Alma to be happy. She was kind of a simple woman, man. She just wanted to hang out in the hotels and travel and drink and watch TV and just chill, and Beth was able to provide that for her. But it did never really seem like Alma, she took from her, but not to me, like she didn't abuse that. Like when she
No.
told her the percentage wise, it was almost like she was like, geez, okay, I wasn't even gonna ask for that much, but all right. I mean, it was cool. I enjoyed it. It was sad, it was a sad ending to that relationship, but I enjoyed it. I thought they presented it pretty well.
I think both characters needed each other and the relationship. The mom was lonely, and obviously they because the husband left her, she needed a way to support them, and Beth was able to do that. And Beth kind of needed a guide to help her through that. So you watch enough series, and you're just waiting for something bad to happen. And I know she died, and that was bad, but I'm actually more okay with that than something bad happening between the two characters, because I was almost sitting there going, okay, everything's going just too good. Yeah, where's it going to go south? But I thought that was good. So as we progress through, we start to see, and they introduce the character of Borgoff, which obviously there's the initial introduction to him at the very beginning of the series, when you don't really have any idea what's going on, where she's waking up late and she goes to play him, and she just sits down and she apologizes for being late. And I thought it was really cool because throughout the series, they're building him up as, not the bad guy, but she's going to have to play him at some point. Yeah. So we see her play him a couple times throughout the series. She loses to him twice, if I'm not mistaken. And the second time, it's actually really sad because she's there. She's doing really well. She's playing for the championship, playing in the finals for the tournament, and she ends up reconnecting with Cleo and drinking all night when she had been doing really well and studying, and she shows up hungover and she loses. So I thought that was also an interesting piece, but I really like what they did with his character. Not that they fleshed him out a lot, and we'll talk about what happens at the end, but I thought he was an interesting character. And the whole time you're thinking like, man, this dude is such a badass. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. I feel the same way. They kind of created him to be, he was the boss of bosses, like in video games. He's not really a bad guy. He's to be the best, you got to beat the best, and he was the best, and he proved that multiple times in the series, and that was the goal, was to beat him. And yeah, like you said, she was doing really good. Everyone succumbs to their vices from time to time, and the whole time we were actually watching it, and when she was like, no, and then she hung up the phone, I was like, okay, cool. And then like you see her like get up, and then of course she shows up in the lobby of the hotel, and I'm like, damn it.
Yes.
Like, it's not just going to be one drink. It's not going to be just one drink. And then of course, they partied all night, I'm assuming. And then she had one of those next day anxiety attacks, which I can definitely relate to when you're hungover. So like I've had plenty of those. So actually during that scene, I was just like watching it like, oh God, here it comes.
I'm gonna look away. Tell me when it's over.
Yeah, and I was like, oh shit, she's just gonna freak out, and that's what happened. So
yeah.
Yep.
So we're introduced also to Benny, who is the U.S. national chess player, and as we were talking through this pre-show, you gave the same reaction that you just gave right now. So tell me, what are your thoughts on the character?
I mean, I guess I liked the character, the Nicolas Cage of the show. That's for some reason disguised as Indiana Jones. Like, I don't know. You couldn't say he's dark and brooding. Right. He was like a little boy. It's the same kid from, I think, Love Actually, and he was also in Game of Thrones. So first of all, I'm like, okay, what is he, like 12? I mean, I know he's older than that, but he kind of has a little scraggly going on. The kid's just, he's one of those people that's probably going to look young his whole life.
Who is he in Game of Thrones?
Skinny. He was, oh God, here we're going to go. So when they showed that scene for Eddard Stark fighting at the tower, so it was like a flashback scene when Bronn warged or whatever back into time, and then so it was young Ned Stark fighting the guy that had two swords. He was like, well, this is where it ends or whatever, and then they fight.
Gotcha.
And his buddy, is it John Aaron? No, that's the guy. Never mind. Anyways, the guy that was there with him that actually killed the master swordsman, because he was supposed to be the best swordsman in the land or whatever, and he stabbed him in the back. That is that kid's father, and the daughter, so it was him. He could also warg in Game of Thrones, and then his sister was the one that hung out with Bran a lot. Or I'm sorry, I keep saying Bran. Hung out with Bran a lot. She had the dark curly hair, and I think she was real good with like a bow and arrow in that scene where like Hodor dies and all that. Gotcha. So that's the same kid that was in that. He's actually British. Okay. So because he was also in Love Actually when he was really little.
Yeah, I was gonna say that must have been a while. Yeah, that's a while ago.
Okay. Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, the character was just, I don't know, it's just the one.
Just didn't click with you.
It just didn't click with me.
I get it.
It was kind of, but I still kind of liked. He kind of grew on me a little bit. I guess the nerdiness and the quirkiness of the best U.S. Chess player and his, cowboy-esque attire with his knife, and then she's like, what do you carry a knife for? Like, that's okay. And he's like, for protection. But, we never saw him use it, which I'm like, oh, okay, something's going to happen. Now it has to, because he's saying like, but yeah, so that was my only issue with that. It was just that the first couple times of seeing him, I'm like, why are we doing this?
Yeah, he kind of he doesn't fit in as much, I guess, as all the other characters do. I didn't think too much about it, so I guess it didn't bother me as much. I mean, I thought, that's kind of weird, but then I was like, oh, okay, it's just a different type of a character. So
yeah, well, and then they put him in that kimono, and she's staying in his apartment where he's got like no shirt on and no pants, and he's just got on like this pink kimono, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Right. Well, and then
that's
too, right. like we were watching it, and he says you can come stay with me, we'll train, no sex, and then he's just very kind of put offish of her, like, hey, that's the living room, here's your air mattress, which shit I didn't even know they had back then. That was actually kind of cool.
That's a good point.
Like he just kept going in his room and shutting the door. It was just like, And then when the kimono scene, we were both like, okay, so maybe he's not into girls. Like, he did kind of have that femininity. I don't know. Anyways, he always has his shirt open. He's got those gold chains, but they're like real thin gold chains, not like thick gold chains. Just an interesting character, man. Just an interesting character.
He clearly got those off of Amazon. He didn't get them from Zales. So let's talk about what happens leading up to the end, and then we'll go into the end. So you see her go back to Kentucky, and I think it's cool that he trains her, and he brings on a couple buddies to help train her. You start to see where the Americans are now putting their minds together, like they talk about the Russians have been doing forever, and that's why they're so good. And we see that in the final tournament as well. But she comes back to Kentucky and just hits rock bottom. Right, she starts drinking too much. I thought it was almost kind of hard to watch when she shows up to the school tournament and she has the crazy eyeliner.
Oh my god!
And then she runs into Beltic outside because you see the spiral. And to this point, everything's been pretty positive in the show, so it's like, well, it makes sense, right? Because they hinted at drug addiction, alcohol addiction. It started getting the best of her, and it shows her hit her head on the table. Which was you're just like, oh my God, wow. She also travels back to the orphanage, and she goes into the room where the janitor was. That's where she sees the newspaper clippings that he had been keeping, and you can tell like that means a lot to her. What I actually thought was really interesting and very cold, where she sees the same lady that was in charge of the orphanage when she was there. And she looks at her and she says, shouldn't you be in chapel? And then she says, yes, ma'am. So, like, I don't think she was hallucinating that, right? Because you can almost think that whole scene, or at least those parts, were hallucination. My takeaway was it was meant to show how that lady that's the leader of the orphanage, how she is. That's who she is, right? So one of her kids that comes back after 5 years or 10 years or whatever it is, and she's not excited to see them, or hey, how are you doing? Something that would bring emotions out in somebody. She's just like, you should be in chapel. So I don't know. Did that stick with you? That kind of stuck with me. I made a note of that as soon as I saw it.
We did talk. Me and Tish talked about that scene, and I had said, because I think she was like walking. She'd gone to get a drink or something when that happened, and she said what happened, and I was telling her, and to me it was because the hallway was dark, So you could tell that was the lady, right? You could tell it was her. She's older now. She has a cane, because Tish's first response was like, "Oh, she didn't age well." And then she
Right.
just kind of looks back over her shoulder and, she says, "Yeah, shouldn't you be in chapel, young lady?" And she says, "Yes, ma'am." And then she just kind of walks off. And I took it more as she kind of, I guess, kind of like what you said, but I took it as in like, she just mistaked her for one of their young girls. Like she just was like, "Hey, young lady," because they were the choir or whatever was going on in the room right next to her. I don't know if that was a chapel or not. They were singing in there, so who knows? But that could have, like, to me, I took it as in like, "Hey, you don't have a hall pass, get back to your classroom," more than, but it could have also been, now that you had said that, I didn't really think about that, her just not giving any thought to what this child has become, no
That actually makes
gratitude,
more
or not
sense.
gratitude, but
What you're saying, that actually makes more sense.
but I don't know. I mean, it was also kind of a random scene, so maybe it
It
was
was.
put in there to be taken a little deeper, like, or maybe it was kind of for her, like, "Hey, not everyone knows who you are or cares, like,
Right.
like, come back down to earth here, this chick's just like, yeah, get back to chapel, you little whippersnapper," or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how I thought of
Yeah.
it. But
So,
the scene as a whole was good. Hey, real quick.
yeah.
So Harry Beltic, side
Mm-hmm.
note, that's the guy from Wedding Crashers, right? The brother of the two girls. The one
Hold on,
that's
I
like
gotta
all
look at him.
emo and is like painting someone naked. He paints Vince Vaughn naked or some shit like that. And then when the girl ties Vince Vaughn to the bed, he's the one that sneaks in, right? That's him, right? I swear to God,
Man,
that's him. It looks just like him.
okay.
Okay,
Now
hold on. I'm
that
gonna have
now
to
that
check
you're
it out.
saying that, I just looked at a picture of him and holy crap, that's
It might
awesome if
not
that's
be
him.
him. It might not be him, but that's the first thing I thought of. I bet it's not.
Vince
I'm gonna have
Vaughn
to.
is
I'm gonna have to
trapped.
look that one up later.
Vince Vaughn is trapped in his closet. Says he wants to
Yeah,
play tummy
yeah,
sticks.
yeah. That's. I don't know. It just,
Genius.
if not, it looks a lot like him. It might not be him, but it looks kind
Genius.
of like him.
So let's move forward kind of towards the end and recap the last episode. So she runs into Jolene. She's a mess. I thought this was cool, and Vanessa actually said it would be so cool if she ran back into Jolene, and it was a little bit convenient, right? There's things that happen in the series that are just a little too convenient, but I enjoyed it. I don't care. So she
Yeah.
runs into Jolene. We get to hear about what Jolene's been doing. She's working as a paralegal, I believe. She's trying to become a
Yeah.
lawyer. She's dating somebody with a lot of money. She's trying to really push. I guess as an activist, is that the right term?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure. It's a different
she's trying to
world for
push
me.
those things, which is sure, yeah. Which is really cool, I think, and she really helps Beth get back on the right track. So I think that was good. Maybe she was the only person that could help her do that. Somebody from her past, and I think that was a really cool. Just some really cool scenes from Jolene and that character. So it's all building up to Beth going to play in the tournament in Russia. She has that run in with the I'm looking for the name the
Crusade, the Christian Crusade,
yeah,
or
yeah, the
something like
Christian
that.
the Christian Crusade, and almost turns into
Yeah.
something where you're like, oh my God, she's doing something stupid because she refuses her money. Benny gets pissed off at her, says, I'm done with you. But she's able to pull together the money from Jolene. Jolene says, hey, I'll lend it to you, and gives her some words of advice while she does that. So she's going into the final tournament. She's going to face Borkov again. Did I say that right? Borkov again. And I just want to talk about the setup and the scenery. And they've talked about the Soviets and why they're the best in the world. And you even get a little bit of a sense of danger when she goes, because she has an escort with her, Booth, who's from the State Department, gives her strict instructions. He says, Borkov may even try and communicate with you. And she's like, well, what do you mean? I don't know. It could be anything. It could be a look. It could be something on the chest. So that obviously never happens in that fashion, but it adds a sense of, okay, this could actually be really dangerous. Again, I'm getting conditioned by series where just terrible things happen, and you have,
Right.
So she goes there and she starts playing through the tournament, and obviously we'll lead up to talk through the final. But what were your thoughts kind of on that scene and that setup, and then obviously her playing through the first couple of rounds and what that meant kind of to you as you'd seen this?
Yeah, I mean, so I thought it was kind of cool how the guy from the State Department was like, "We're not going to give you any money. We don't have it in our budget, but we're going to spend all this money to send one of our guys with you." So which I was kind of like, okay. I like the scene where I think he had a flask. He offered her a drink, maybe on the plane. I don't even remember.
It was
just kind of one of those timepieces, right? Like nowadays, you can't really. I mean, I guess you probably could sneak a flask on a plane, but
everyone was smoking on the plane too.
Everyone was smoking
ashtrays.
On the plane. Yeah, it made me think of like Pan Am Air, or whatever that is, like the old school kind of business class or whatever. But I thought it was okay, an okay scene. I didn't, so when they arrive at the airport, they also meet a contact the driver she sees he's carrying.
Yep.
He's got some kind of pistol or something like that in his side. So I don't know, like I didn't really think anything bad was gonna happen, because I mean, if anything bad was gonna happen, yeah, of course, right? She's kind of had a bad turn of events in this series, but I didn't think it was gonna go Cold War or pre-Cold War on us or anything like that. I was just I didn't know the tensions were that high during this time period, but not a film buff or history buff, so I don't know the facts on the timelines and things like that. But I thought it was pretty cool how she basically had escorts around town. The scenes where it showed her walking, just walking outside, all dressed up, looking good, and then those two guys are kind of spy-looking dudes walking behind her, just watching her go to different places. So that was interesting. But I mean, I think it was just kind of some fill time for me. It was a time to get up and go to the bathroom or fix something to drink.
There you go. So she starts playing in the tournament. She obviously does very well. She becomes really popular with the Soviets every time she's exiting the building. And I thought it was cool how they also showed, there's people outside that are watching the chess tournament. There's people that are running from inside to the outside. So it kind of it shows you how important chess is to all those people. And then it shows obviously the people in the park that are playing chess, and just I don't know, I just thought that was a cool way to show how important the game of chess was. The most important match before her rematch with Borgov is she plays Luchenko, who is the older guy who's the ex-champ, and she sits down with him, and awesome hair. He looked Albert Einstein-ish.
Yeah, very much.
But I thought that was cool, the way they built a character who was clearly very old school, maybe a little bit past his prime from the standpoint of there's somebody that's better, but he's clearly one of the best to ever play. And she knows him from reading, and she even says, right, I've read your books, this and that.
Yeah.
So she not only has to play him, she's also dealing with, well, I'm
starstruck.
I'm starstruck by this guy.
Yeah.
And
an idol maybe.
Yeah. So what did you think about that?
Yeah, that was a really good scene, and I enjoyed how they. I don't know anything about the actor that played him, but I thought he was portrayed very well. Very well spoken. Told her at the end, he makes that quick kind of comment about I think she was about to tell him how old she was, and he's like, "Don't embarrass me any more than I already am embarrassed." And then he said that he felt like he lost to the best player in the world, and I was like, all right, so he's calling it before it even happens. Which, I mean, if you're gonna go with most shows, you assume she's gonna wind up beating Borgov, but I mean, you never know. I mean, they could red wedding the whole thing, and then she just gets destroyed, and who knows?
Subvert expectations.
Yeah,
I like the way his character was so humble. I thought that was really cool. And obviously, and I think it was through that match when they had an adjournment, she sees them in the evening, and he's working with Borgov and another guy going through, practicing and planning for the next day. So you see how, again, the Soviets are working together. And I think that they're, when you go to an adjournment, that's an opportunity to study the board and to work through what are all the potential possibilities. And that, so
Yeah.
she ends up beating him. You said, as you said, he shakes her hand. I thought that was really cool. So now she has to play Borgov again. And this is obviously, we know this is a finale coming up, and they go through, and you can tell she's on her game the whole time. And I believe they reach an adjournment, and then she runs into, I'm going to have to look at my notes because I don't remember what his name is. She runs into, oh, I'm blanking here. Anyways, one of the first guys that she had played, where she goes into his hotel room, and God, I'll have to go back.
He's like a reporter or something, isn't he? Or a writer or
yes,
like that?
yes. He's a reporter now, and she had a crush on him before, and she went to his room, and she runs into him, and obviously she's excited. And you also see how popular she is, because she's trying to get out, and she's trying to talk to the press, and her kind of handler, for lack of a better word, is telling her, well, you want to at least say this or that. She runs into him, and then he's hanging out with her, and then the phone rings, and it's Benny and a couple of other guys that she had trained with before, and they're like, okay, here's where the board's at. Here's what you need to do.
Yeah,
so
if he does this, do that. If he does this, do that. If he does this, do that. Yeah.
So
that part was awesome.
Okay, so I thought, okay, well, I'll let you go first. So tell me what you thought, and then I have my thoughts.
Yeah, thought, it was very Avengers Assemble-esque. Like, it was what they had said before, about this is what the Russians do. Why can't we do it? They had been, it looked like they maybe had been up all night going through scenarios in their head. And like, I like too how each one of them kind of had a scenario. Like each one was responsible for, I don't know shit about chess, but if he plays this,
yes.
The pawn goes here, this is what you do. If the knight goes here, this is what you do. Like they had all the scenarios down of what could possibly happen. And I thought that was really cool. Again, it's like such a mind game. Like that scene where she beats, it might've been, I don't know. She beats someone, and then you actually see Borgov get up, and he like mid game, he gets up and goes over there and looks at the table.
That's right. Yep. That's right.
Like, and he's just staring at it. Like, again, it's a mind game. Like I can't look at a chessboard and see what had happened. Like he's replaying things in his head of like, okay, she won, but where are her pieces, where are her opponent's pieces, what could have gone differently, like that stuff. And how they write down their moves and all of that, like that stuff is really, I didn't realize chess was that detailed. Like I knew it was a game of wits really, but man, yeah, not for this guy, that's for sure.
So the line that I was most excited to say in this video was talking about that end scene, and that they assembled like the Avengers did. And you and you beat me to it, but I don't mind it at all, because that's hilarious. Because I specifically didn't say that line when we were talking about this in pre-show, and you thought the exact same thing. So that's hilarious. Yeah. I'll take that. I'll take that for what it is. I don't care that you said it before I did. But no, I agree that it was so cool that you see them all come together. And I think it's such an interesting part of this show is they do such a good job of keeping the characters in play and bringing them back and adding value to the main storyline and adding value to her. And you really see that they are friends. Right? The girl that didn't have any friends, she didn't have a family, and she struggled her whole life. But all of a sudden, through the game of chess, she has all these people that they really care about her. So she goes back to the game with Borgov, and he doesn't do what they thought that he was going to do. So she's really prepared. He does something different, and you see a tear come down from her face. And I'm like, is she gonna lose again? Going back to the negative outcomes of TV series or movies. Yeah. And I'm like, is she gonna move? And then that's where it cuts to when she's able to see the pieces on the ceiling without the drugs. So you feel like, okay, she's evolved. She doesn't need the drugs. And maybe this was before that I can't remember, where he offers her a draw. And the announcers kind of helping you get to, like, well, she could take the draw, and that would be a victory, right? That nobody would have ever thought she would have done that.
She should do it. Like she should take it.
Yeah. And you start, you know what it was after that? Because I remember thinking she didn't take the draw because she had to feel like she needed a win for everybody that helped her. It wasn't about her. It was about everybody else, and she owed it to them. And in a way, it was all of their game. It wasn't just her game that she was playing. It was all of their game. So she refuses the draw. We see her get her, we see him get her in a bad position. You see the tear. She's able to see the pieces in focus. And then they do a very good job of, as much as you could make chess intense and exciting. And I remember enough to kind of get it a little bit where, you see she doesn't make the obvious moves on the board. She's patient and she makes some other moves. And through that, and that there's no room for error, right? So through that, you can see the look on his face, and they do a good job of showing this throughout the series when people start to realize that they're not going to be able to win. So it's not in your face. It's like okay, I'm going through and I'm going to lose. So he ends up, she obviously ends up beating him. I thought they did a really good job of, and I'm going to kick it over to you to talk about this, but I thought they did a really good job of how they handled the closing of the match and the ending once he realized that she was going to beat him.
Yeah, I thought, kind of a quirky, funny moment was when she was staring at the ceiling, and then you slowly start to see other people in the crowd start looking up, and kind of like that.
Yes.
What is she looking at?
Yes.
Kind of esque. That was kind of funny. And
that's
then,
right.
I like how when he offers her the draw, she didn't say no. She didn't say no, thank you. It was just that simple, like, she just shook her head, I think, from one side to the other, like, no. And it was just, I was like, fuck yeah, okay, cool. And then they kept going. And then, of course, the scene where, like, it wasn't even that drawn out. From what I remember, she just, so you can tell it's getting intense, and you can see it in his eyes. And then he just, he picks up, I don't know, what do y'all drop when you lose? What is the one that you're supposed to knock over?
Oh, the king?
The king.
Yeah. Oh, so and he hands it to her.
And he hands it to her. He says, it's yours, take it. And then, like, at first I was kind of like, wait a minute, because it kind of happened fast. So I was like, is this really happening, or is she imagining this? And then, she goes to take it, and then he stands up holding her hand, and I don't know, kisses her hand or hugs her. I think actually he just hugs her, and then turns her to face the crowd, and everyone starts clapping, and you're like, all right, cool, it's over. So yeah, that was pretty sweet. And then she walks out into the everyone's waiting for her outside to congratulate her, and then that dude that we were talking about, the reporter, takes that picture of her by the car, and then they're supposed to go to the airport, or maybe that was even the next day, because I feel like that was the next day. And then he tells her about the president. The president wants to sit with you, which we had to actually, I can't remember who it was, but we had to look it up.
Oh, who the president was during that?
The president's from Texas, because he says, we're going to get a picture of you playing chess with the president. Just smile, because you're going to kick the shit out of him anyways. And then he goes, Texas is mostly a checker state. And I can't remember who it was. Oh, LBJ. I think we figured it was LBJ, which was just kind of a shot in the dark. I don't know, but I thought that was kind of cool. And then, she gets out of it. She wants to walk to the airport, and he lets her, which I thought was kind of weird that he was like, even though she won, I figured the fact that she beat the Russian would be even more of a reason that they would need to give her security or whatever. Right. But they just let her walk, and
it's kind of convenient.
She's walking through the park. Yeah. It was a good ending. Like that could have taken place, whenever you see the scenes of people playing chess in like Central Park or something like that. Right.
Right.
So they're in the Kremlin or wherever, in Moscow or wherever they are. And she walks in, and all the old guys recognize her, and they're all, she's shaking hands. And then the one guy asks her to play. But what I like too is, like, as soon as she sat down and took her gloves off, she put her arms over each other, her hands over each other. And then it was like game mode. Like, it wasn't like, I'm going to take it easy on this old man. Like, oh, how cute. Like, let's just play a friendly game.
That's a good point. Yep.
The switch was turned on, and it was game mode. And then she said something in Russian, like, let's go, or let's play, or something like that.
Oh, yeah, she did.
And then it ended. It was pretty cool. I enjoyed the ending scene.
Good. Yeah. No, I did too. I liked all that. I like how they closed it out. And I think that goes back to when I found out it was just a mini series. It was 7 episodes. It's like, this is something we can watch. There's a beginning, there's an arc, there's an end, and there's nothing where they have to try and set something up, or, it was just something where you could sit down and you could enjoy. And I think to close this out, I always like to talk about, like, who is this show for, right?
Right.
Is it for chess fanatics? Is it for people that want to see a romantic comedy? Is it for drama? And what I would say is, if you enjoy playing chess, you should absolutely watch this movie. I keep on saying movie. This show. There's enough chess in it. It's like football and watching a football movie. Of course, you got to watch a football movie. There's enough chess in it, and there's enough built around it to where they do a really good job of paying homage to the chess game, and showing a high appreciation for it. I think anybody that likes character pieces and relationship pieces, I don't know who doesn't, but I don't know. I guess if you just like action movies, or if you just like comedies and that's all you like is action movie or comedies, then this probably isn't for you. But anybody that really enjoys those things and watching something for 7 hours where it's not too stressful, there's a little bit of drama, and there's some ups and downs, but in general, you're just going to be able to sit down and consume it and enjoy it. And if you're a chess fan, you'll enjoy it a little bit more. But it's great. Again, I rated it a 9. I think it's near perfect for me. So what do you think?
Yeah, I still rated it a solid 7. It's just not a big chess fan, but I enjoyed the miniseries. I would watch it again. Like if I rate anything a 6, I'm not gonna ever watch it again. I would actually watch all 7 episodes again. I actually might, just because there's some things in the beginning that I forgot or just kind of missed because I was not really entertained. Right. I kind of go off my ratings on entertained. I was pretty entertained with this one. It still kind of lost me towards the end too. There would be scenes that I would just kind of zone out on.
Sure.
But I mean, I don't think you have to be a chess fan to enjoy this. I don't think you have to be a drama fan to enjoy this. I think just an all around solid, good miniseries. Like it's got some funny scenes. It's got your, like you said, your character stories. It's got a little bit of maybe not necessarily a love story, but relationships.
Yeah.
It's got like how relationships fall apart. It's got a little bit of like maybe not parental love, but somewhat an agreement between two adults that is like having a mother and a daughter, I guess. Interact with each other when they're a little bit brought together by fate rather than other things. So I enjoyed it. Yeah, I would recommend it.
Did Tish and Nevaeh like it?
I believe so. Nevaeh, did you like it? Yeah, she liked it. She liked it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and Tish liked it. She's just downstairs.
Okay, cool. Anything else? Any last thoughts?
Man, last thoughts on it. No, I'm glad that it was a miniseries though, because I don't know if I could have done another season of. I just don't really care that much about chess. So, like, I think that was another thing. Like, I'm sure you're gonna have those people out there that watch it and watch the actual playing, where they watch, what's being moved where, and is that a legal move, and all this other. Just like anything, sports movies of any kind, people are gonna be like, oh, that was offsides. If it's a soccer or football movie, or oh, that was this or that double dribble or traveling, or people try to tear apart anything sports related. I feel like so. I never got caught up in any of that because I don't understand chess and I don't really care to. But this movie does kind of make me want to possibly watch. What is that movie with Sean? Was it Sean Connery? Searching for Bobby Fischer?
Okay,
is that one of them? Like I remember that was like
I've never seen it, but I'm familiar.
Like, why would I watch a movie about chess? I don't care. So it would be kind of cool. My like favorite chess playing that they did in this was the speed rounds or whatever, speed chess.
Okay, right.
Where they're just going like, oh my god, and not only because it's quick, but I think that shows even more skill. Like because usually when they play it so slow, the fact that they're going that fast, I'm just like, dude. And for money, that was kind of cool.
That was cool.
So, yeah.
Right on. Well, everybody, thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed the review. We really enjoyed the series. Go watch it. Give us your thoughts down below in the comments. Please like. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. And we'll be back for another review or another newsroom or something, I'm sure, here shortly. So thanks, guys. We'll see y'all next time.